Hi, I'm Rob Dahm, and no, this isn't a repeat. It sounds so nice, let's make it twice, and so many of you in the comments of yesterday's video or the previous video said, what about a 3-rotor in a C5 Corvette? You have to watch the video to figure out whether or not it fits. Guess what, it fits. If this whole video series with the 2-rotor goes as wild as it already is going, this will be a reality. I can make it a reality. We can make it a reality. I will push that 2-rotor until it completely destroys itself and then throw one of these in. You have my word. You guys asked for it, and I gotta deliver. That's what it looks like. We're gonna go pull this motor out, and for all of our curiosities, throw that motor into the chassis of the Corvette and see what it looks like. I got excited while Jarrett was getting the camera ready, and we got the turbo out. Let's just set her down for the moment. Now, it's time for the rest of the exhaust, and we can pull this so quickly, so much quicker than the damn Corvette. This is all about streamlining the process. And coolant is the process I love streamlining the most. It's just one of those like, okay, let's remove coolant, let's get the oil out. It's just basics. It's not even like challenging. It's just more of just a to-do list on your car. With this long extension, and I think it's a 5/16 bit socket, we're just gonna hardcore drop coolant from the bottom of the radiator. I can't thank Bell intercoolers enough. The name is a little misleading because they make intercoolers, but they also make radiators as well as oil coolers. And that's the company that's gonna be doing all the cooling for the 4-rotor. So that's coming up very quickly, figuring out all the spacing for that car. But for now, I look like the Joker, like Jack Nicholson from the old like 90s Joker with that weird ass long gun. Go to town on this worm screw. You guys know that using a flathead on that is just pain. I unplugged the radiator itself from its bracket so that way I can get even more leverage on this. There we go. Such a bummer. It's got like 5 miles of use. That's gonna go down in history as my cleanest radiator coolant flush. Good news is that there is nothing that looks like oil in this coolant. The coolant's completely clear. But the problem is, even though the coolant sealers like have 5 miles or an hour of idling on these, you still have to replace all the coolant seals because as soon as you pop the engine, they kind of expand and they're like a one-time use only thing. I'm sure somebody out there has reused them, and if it wasn't this race application, I would reuse them too. So. That's a lot of water. It's very not green. There, we're done. That was a great job. Dude, that was so easy. This beautiful new piping that we've used for 2 pulls. There we go. All right. It really does smell weird. There's a really weird smell to this car. We're gonna find out that means like, oh yeah, you blew a side seal or something like that. We do still have more coolant in this hose. Let's roll this back over there. That's just a secret little extra stash just waiting to surprise us. I need like a cup holder to the side. It'd be like perfect.
Out of like all the concerns, you need a cup holder.
I am a needy little bitch. And for the record, this is not powered. Otherwise, that would have killed it. Everybody. Okay, even easier to look at everything. Let's take the intake manifold off, and then we can start unplugging things. Go. My little vacuum lights are out. Throw our positioning off. Underneath, this is something that gets some people. Air temp sensor. It's hidden underneath here. And by some people, I mean me. That's a T56 Magnum speed sensor. Oh no, this one. It's on an angle, I might have to use an extension. So unfair. You know the nice part about working on this car for me? Unlike the LS where I have no idea where any of the bolts go after all that. It's like I can just throw all the bolts in like a bin because it's like this car's so simplified that you just end up, God, more metallic smell. I'm not bragging, I've just had to rebuild my damn car so many times that if you handed me this bolt and said, Rob, what does this go to? Okay, maybe I wouldn't know what it is. Look at all that oil that it spit up all over what I just cleaned as my cables. Beautiful. I definitely need my catch can, but that's not what caused this. You're such a poor baby, I just rebuilt you. I treat you poorly. Dear any welding company listening to this, I am a customer who's willing to spend money. I just want to partner with a company on welding. Keep showing that anybody, if I can weld, anybody can weld. I would like to talk to you. This little guy, shielded all the way right to the very edge, by the way. Temp sensor, injector, 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 clip, injector, injector. I've got these labeled, so that's also good. Coil, 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 coil.
Okay, say the next one.
Coil. You got the last one. Don't mess this up, Jarrett. Don't you mess this up.
Coil.
Oh man, that was teamwork. Crimped this cable so many times. It's the signal line for the relays on the fans. So it tells the fans to turn on. I'm gonna rerun that wire this way and then just have like a connector that when I put the wiring harness on, just connect it. Purposely, I'm going to cut it in half here so I remember. These bolts exist so that way the coil has the shortest circuit from the spark plug. It's all circuitry. So this line, all of the spark has to ground out to something, and it grounds out to this. So it might work. Third rotor, center ground all the way back here. This is where all my grounds come together in a star pattern. Very powerful setup that way. A lot of people mess up their grounds. Even though this wiring looks atrocious, this is definitely a solid pattern for not letting your power ground mess up a lot of your data ground going to your ECU or anything like that. Very, very solid way of doing this. So far so good. Full function has a oil pedestal down where the oil filter is. Sits the oil filter sits on top of it and it lets you plug in some NTP like ports, that way you can have more sensors on there. I don't have enough sensors. Loosening this oil line because it must have shifted during all of our adventures. It's all coming out anyway, so sensors pulled back. That's the temp sensor when I'm ready for it. Pressure sensor. One dash mount fuel sensor pressure sensor, and then the ECU pressure sensor. That one told us what was going on when we have all the fuel problems. Pull all of this just gently back. I'm just scared that all this oil, where I have stickers that are listing things, this oil is gonna mess me up. This last thing right here is actually a boost sensor for the A pillar. It's not part of my setup. This is just one of the existing things. I might pull some of these out as I go, but for now we'll leave it. There's my brand new wideband right there. That's how quickly this engine just starts pulling apart. Kick-ass alternator. I need to install like 10 subs to really use this alternator. I'm just gonna cut these out of there for the moment, with intention of someday putting this in an actual mounted spot. There we go. We might get a little bit of oil here and there, not there. Yeah, this external oil mod's awesome. It didn't save us though, I hate to admit it. The external oil mod is supposed to prevent this oil channel from here when it cracks. If you lean it out, it cracks right here and then oil pours out of the fat iron. Well, in this case, I'm not sure where it's coming from other than obviously having no surge tank, but oil is coming. There's gonna be a little bit of fuel, I think, coming out of this. Well, I haven't ran this car in so long. Oh, yeah, definitely a little bit of fuel. Well, that is not a little bit of fuel. And that's only the secondary. The primary rail is going to have more. One of the main lines I'm expecting chocolatey goodness to come pouring out. I made that mistake. It didn't just rush out, so I let this like hang, and I came back the next day and there was just a massive flood of oil all over the floor. I'm gonna disconnect this Y in the oil feed lines because I have to undo them, sadly, to get out of the engine mount. There we go, see, there you go. They looked empty. It's more cosmetic than anything, but they're carrying fluid inside of them, and I don't feel like having that fall. What? I'm done being a guide. You guys can just watch the video and make up your own assumptions. That should have dropped some sort of coolant. I don't even know anymore. Okay, this one, please. Make it worth the effort. Yeah, look at how much that mess that would have made. Oh my God, what a payoff. We're gonna go over to the exhaust side, pull the down pipe, and then loosen the motor mounts and pull off the bell housing. And we're gonna pull this engine with quite a bit of the accessories on it, because why not? For those of you wondering, I'm not too concerned about anything falling in there because we're pulling the whole engine apart anyway, and it's not gonna be running between now and then. So you guys, you do your thing. You do your thing. This is a little bit of a tricky one. We're gonna have to put the car in gear because there is no parking brake at the moment. I'm gonna work on engine mounts, then transmission mounts. One engine mount down. Both engine mounts are off. I think everybody that has ever worked on a car gets that same awe-inspiring moment when you realize that all of the engine is being held up by only two mounts, both on the LS and on this. Yes, there's braces on the transmission and other tunnel, and of course rear differential, but on these cars, it all comes down to two bolts. It's really impressive. You're kind of like, no, am I missing something? Nope, that's all there is bracing that engine. Loosen the top side slide the engine hoist in, and we are ready to pull. This is such a first world problem. Every single one of these bolts aren't the bolts that were meant for it, and so they're like an inch too long. Now I know, they're living together, parents living together, but they are divorced. I'm relying on the fact that this thing has a transmission mount and engine mounts. That way when I pull and push, I get my satisfaction. It's going so quickly and it's still an absolutely horribly inefficient process right now. We could have this engine out, honest to God, what do you think? Hour,
maybe 40 minutes.
Exactly. This could be so quickly. We went and took a slushy break, and we're still making great time. But it's just weird when you get this efficient at it. It's just weird stuff. Finding your correct socket, it rolls away. Oil's still leaking out. You're like, what's going on?
We had to go out and buy another toolkit because we lost so much stuff.
The time I wasted right there looking for this is more time than it took to pull the engine.
Why do you got a jacket like that?
You're the one who brought this on yourself. I was completely finding a mature professional adult, utilizing my triceps, Garrett, for good form, and you gotta be all childish? Grow up, Garrett. One of us gotta be the adult here.
$20, these hit the jack stands.
Oh, no way.
You don't think so?
No. That scared me for a second, but then I realized who was saying it.
That was unnecessary.
That was really loud.
Whatever.
I don't ask for much in life other than to be right. I've never pulled this motor with this much stuff on it. This is a new one for me. Okay. Put this one here. The alternator bracket. If I break this rear iron, I don't honestly care. I just have to get another iron, but these irons are so worn. I'm gonna let God choose whether or not this iron comes out of here unscathed. I'm gonna risk it all just for you. So this motor pops, worse than it's already popped. The world knows Jarrett Keithler is the problem. Okay, I'm gonna just jack it up slowly. I'm cringing. I don't care if you guys are watching this video and cringing, I'm cringing. but I'm not really getting many better solutions without tearing more of this off. And this is a Hertz motor, so it is what it is. Okay, so now the motor mounts actually have to pop up out of the base of the motor mounts. If the transmission doesn't want to do that, then we're just gonna have to unbolt the motor mounts from the side of the motor and pull it out that way. Because we only get so much leeway with the transmission to be able to pull it straight out. Otherwise, we're flexing the engine on the pilot bearing and the transmission's not responding. Let's jack it up just a little bit and see what we get. Scary. Out of both. So here's where it gets a little tricky because the transmission is not going to like this angle. T56, I know you're mad at me. Oh shit! Works perfectly. That's the trick to engine work, I've realized, is that if you're forcing things, it's wrong. Looking for any sort of things that are caught in the way. Go ahead and gently separate them just a little bit further. Right there should do. Bottom's definitely separated more than the top. I'm gonna go ahead and a little bit more. This is a push type clutch. There's no separating it like a normal FD or the old sex sandwich clutch on this thing. Oh, I'm hitting right here. That's what. See, that's exactly it. Start pushing and pulling and getting angry, and I would have torqued something over here unnecessary. So that's where it's taken me years to be able to have that sort of self-control to be able to do that. Whatever. So, screamer pipe out of there. Okay, let's see what comes next. Okay, you're being dramatic. You're being dramatic. There we are. That is a wild looking engine pull just because of all the material that's still on it. As it ends, so shall it begin. This is rolling it over to a dream final home if everything goes to plan with this whole video series. Okay, those engine mounts are gonna make it look funny, but we're not. We're just sizing it up for the sake of seeing if a 3-rotor can fit the Corvette. This is also a very first for the internet. Nobody's ever done this either. I think the most popular comment on the last video was why not a 3-rotor? And to be fair, that's just A, too expensive, but B, the real reason is that's cheating. This motor is overkill. The only person that can really compete with me from a YouTube standpoint is Cletus. And I already have a 3-rotor car. If you guys like this look, I'll show you in a second. If you like how this looks, and this is what you really dream, then let's keep this video series as active and engaging as possible. I'll give you only positive, amazing content doing something nobody's done before. But I will push that 2-rotor till it pops and until it pops again. Not because rotors are unreliable, but because I'm willing to just push it all the way. Once we get the most we do out of a 2-rotor, if the videos are amazing and they're doing well, I promise you we'll put another 3-rotor in here. It would go back perfect distance. Holy shit, look at how perfect that would be. That would go back 3 inches or so. This would clear the steering rack perfectly. You would have a little bit of issue with this, but this can always be rewelded and angled however you want. You could legitimately fit a 3-rotor in a Corvette. You could do it. The most beautiful part of a 3-rotor to me